Barrie and Shelley is from Metal Designs, and today we're going to show you how to use the laser texture papers. Here they are here. And if you look really close, can I get it? Oh yeah, metaldesigns.com or on Etsy, Metal Designs with a Z. And you can use the laser textured papers through your economy rolling mill. Hello, little economy rolling mill. And you get these fabulous textures on your metal, which we're going to do a piece of copper and we're going to do this little piece of silver. Shelley cut out some little butterfly wings from their butterfly wings collection. We've also got the dandelion fluff, and we're going to do the dandelion fluff on the copper. So the most important thing you need to do is you need to anneal your metal. When you're annealing your metal with your silver, you want to make sure it comes out gray. See how there's no shine on this sucker? It's white. Sorry, not gray. And you don't want to get your, if you can see yourself in your silver, anneal that sucker again. And Shelley cut her wings just a little too close to the size of her silver, but we'll make it work.
It's snug.
And I'm going to pass the phone off to Shelley because otherwise you guys are just going to be looking at a blur. Okay. So I've taken the silver is just a little tight, but we'll make it work.
Normally you want a little bit of extra paper around the edge of your metal, and I cut it too short and broke two saw blades, so
But we love you
good
anyway.
enough.
It'll work. Okay, and we're also using a 140-pound watercolor paper as basically what it does is it allows the metal to accept the texture just a little deeper. If you don't use the watercolor paper, you don't get as intense of a texture. Okay, and I always think of my bundle of metal and paper going through as a sandwich where the metal is the meat of the sandwich. So here's our watercolor paper. Our piece of copper that's not annealed, but that's okay because it's copper and it's super soft and we don't love copper anyway, so it's just for an example. But see how the paper is just slightly larger than what the copper is. And the texture paper, this is our dandelion fluffs, and you make sure that it fits just a little bit bigger. Okay, so then I take my metal sandwich, and I always do this kind of a tamp it down so that you're lined right up at the bottom. So when you put that in the rolling mill, it'll roll through on its own. But first we want to set this thing. So the first thing I do is I take this little T handle off and I make sure my rollers are snug. Not tight because you don't want to have indentations or anything like that on your roller, but I just want to make sure that it's snug so that both these rollers are even. Otherwise one is kind of cockeyed and you'll end up with a really twisted piece of rolled metal. And I put my T-bar in and I just wiggle it around until it'll catch. And then I open the rollers up so that I can get my metal in. And I'm rolling the copper. It's the same gauge of metal as my silver is so that I don't have to reset it for my silver and I won't screw up my silver. I know that it's tight enough. When I roll the silver, it'll be perfect the first time. If I roll the copper and it's not quite tight enough, no big loss. So first thing I do is you might have to come around this side, Shell, so you can get it. I put the bundle up against the rollers and I try and turn. And if it's really, really hard, then you're great. And by really hard, you don't want to get a hernia, but you also don't want it to be so easy that it just whips through. So if you find it too loose, just back out, tighten it a bit more, go back in.
By like a quarter turn or so, right?
Oh, even
Or
about
less?
an eighth of a turn on the economy mill. Then you want to roll, and you want it to be clunky. And you need it on a table that's really, really sturdy. This is not the most sturdy of tables, but it'll do. And this will tell us if we have our rollers tight enough or if we're going to make it a little bit tighter for our metal, for our silver. And yes, when your metal comes out, it will be curly, and that's okay. Okay, see how we've got the curl in it? And that's because the copper's shiny, because it wasn't annealed, it's kind of hard to see the texture, but you can see the fluff in there. And I'm going to make it just a little bit tighter because I like a really deep impression. So I'm only going to go like maybe 3 cogs, if that. So now I'm going to roll the butterflies. And I line it right up. And with this one, because it's so snug, I have to make sure that when I roll this one through, I have to make sure that the butterfly wings don't
Shift.
Exactly. And so in future, what I would do is I would make my my texture paper slightly larger. Okay, so now we're going to feed this through. And again, it's going to need to be a little bit of muscle. And it falls through. And it's curly. And we have the butterfly wings.
Beautiful.
Can you see it?
Perfect.
Perfect. And now you can cut those out and add a jump ring or turn it into a pair of earrings or whatever. And if you have any questions, you can always hit up Metal Designs on Facebook and on Etsy, and they will give you a hand with any problems that you may be having. Or you can always tag me, Barrie Edwards. Thanks.